Arr, ye scallywag, where be the treasure map? What? They're a different kind of pirate? Roll the intro. All right, so we've got altogether 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 cards. Now, some of these cards were the ones from the last year. Some of these are ones that we could use right away. Others have some delays to them. So the one that's probably the furthest off is this Assault on Tripoli. We couldn't play this until 1805 at the earliest. And so this one's probably the one to discard. Now, some of the other cards can't be played just yet either, but this one, we should definitely toss this one out because it'll probably show up later in the game, and we'll get it when the reshuffle happens here in a few years. So we'll throw that one out and keep something that's a little bit better instead. All right, now the Pirates have drawn some interesting cards. They have the Philadelphia runs aground. This is an opportunity for one of the U.S. ships to get sunk or damaged. Merchant ship converted, so if they go out on a raid and they're successful, they will, in addition to getting a gold coin, they'll also pick up a Corsair. We've got Algiers sends out a Corsair raid. Since Algiers is at war, this is a good one to have. Guns of Tripoli, if and when the U.S. tries to assault Tripoli, this gives them a whole boatload of dice to roll and sink a bunch of U.S. ships. Troops to Derna, this is to get you basically some additional troops there, but only after Hamet's army has been activated, or actually before Hamet's army has captured Derna. So we can send reinforcements there now. And then Moroccan Corsairs raid. So the one that we can't really use anymore is the Tunisian Corsairs raid because they've now been rendered neutral. So this is the one that we're going to toss out and put back in the pile. It could come back again, but there's no Tunisians to do anything with. All right, so the U.S. is going to, now let's see, we got to try to move something to intervene there in Algiers and keep them from attacking. So we're going to play this naval movement card. And once we play this, it will come back. So with a naval movement card, we're going to move a frigate from Gibraltar to Tangiers, and we'll take one from patrol there in Tripoli and put it there in Algiers as well. So that will leave us 2 frigates in Algiers and 4 frigates outside of Tripoli, hopefully to keep everybody at bay. All right, it's time for the Tripolitanians to do something, and we're going to try to do a raid. So we're going to play the Algiers Corsair raids and see what we come up with over there. Let's see what the combat looks like. So the Algerians are sending out their 3 Corsairs to try to raid. The U.S. has got 2 frigates there. If they're going to be rolling, they'll be rolling basically 2 dice for each ship, for each frigate. If they roll a 6, that is a sunk Corsair, and anything else, and the Corsair slips through. Now, the U.S. does have a card that can improve their chances, and that's this one here, Lieutenant Strudit, in pursuit. When making an interception roll, each American frigate may roll 3 dice instead of 2. So we'll go ahead and use this one. Once it's played, it's removed from the game. But that's going to give us a sort of a benefit over in that part that we might need. If we can eliminate the Algerians, then we might live to be a little safer and can redirect our forces. So we're trying to get 6s here. And we have 2 6s, so that's going to eliminate 2 of the Algerian. So we'll go ahead and remove these 2 Corsairs. That means that 1 of the Corsairs made it through to conduct a raid. And now we will roll the dice and see what happens. So the Algerian Corsair, there's only 1 surviving. On a roll of a 5 or a 6, they will have captured a ship or merchants and earn a gold token for the Tripolitanians. And they rolled a 2, so their raid was ineffective. So now the Algerian Corsair returns to harbor, where it could be activated in the future with additional card play. Now we're going to move the marker forward. It's now the spring turn, and the U.S. has decided it will play the Congress authorizes action for the effect. That will place 2 American frigates on the turn track to arrive next year as reinforcements. So a nice little card. The Tripolitanians have opted to play the Burning of the Philadelphia card. A single die roll will determine whether the ship is damaged, sunk, or captured by the Tripolitanians. So here we take it off, and we need to keep track of how many U.S. frigates might be sunk. So usually what I've been doing is just kind of setting them here off the map in the middle of the desert, so we don't mistake them for an active ship. If we were to get 3 more ships, U.S. ships sunk there, then the Tripolitanians would win. All right, we're going to advance the token to the winter turn, and the U.S. is going to look at their situation. Now, we don't really have any cards that we want to play for the event. We want to save some of these, but the one card that we can at least play, you've got to play a card. We can play this one here for, not for the effect, but just for movement. And hopefully we'll get it later in the game when we have some land battles, but it's not really effective now since we don't have any land battles scheduled. So that'll go into the regular discard pile, and that's going to allow us to maybe transfer a ship from the waters off of Algeria to Tripoli in the hopes of providing some interdiction over there. For the Tripolitanians, we've got a couple of options. Now, we want to save this one for next turn, or next year, I should say, when we can get the Swedes out of there. But for the most part, we can either do a raid using this card and get everything that in Tripoli, as well as the other Algerian ship out, maybe capture some treasures, or the other option would be to come out and attack the U.S., possibly damaging or sinking some of their frigates. The Swedish frigates can't participate in that, so we would have 6 of our little Corsairs against the 2 U.S. frigates. This one might not be a bad one to play, particularly since the U.S. is getting a bunch of reinforcements next year. So they'll be possibly too strong for us to do this again. So this is the option for the Tripletanians. Let's go to our combat. All right, so we've moved our Corsairs out of Tripoli. They're in the naval patrol zone. We're now going to have combat with the U.S. and see what happens. Neither the U.S. nor the Tripletanians have any battle cards that can affect die rolls or circumstances here. So it's just going to be a straight up roll of the dice to see what happens. All right, time for the die rolls. Each frigate gets one die. Not each frigate, each Corsair gets one die. A 6 will cause damage. Anything else doesn't do anything. So we have 1 6. So that's going to damage one of the U.S. Frigates, and it will be removed from the map and placed as a reinforcement showing up next turn. Now the U.S. gets to fire back. They get 2 die for each frigate. Same thing works. You need to roll a 6 in order to sink anything. And they don't roll any 6s. So combat is concluded. One of the Tripletanian ships are going to go back into harbor. And one U.S. ship is removed and placed over in the 1803 track to arrive as a reinforcement. And that concludes the 1802 year. Hey, I hope that you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please click the like button. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe, and feel free to share this video out on social media with any other like-minded human beings out there in the universe. If you've got questions, comments, suggestions for future topics or games for me to look at, please make note of those in the comment section, and I will personally respond. Until then, be well and stay out of trouble.